This video is sponsored by Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Click on the link in the description and use the code PackerMan to save 10% on any order.
What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to this edition of The Fuel, where in this episode we're going to be talking about the Pennzoil 150 at the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's infield road course. And let me just say this, NASCAR has really become a bunch of fucking pussies when it comes to their rain policy. Like, could have made things really interesting with the rain tires, but they instead decide to wait until the track is pretty much bone dry before going back out onto the racetrack. At that point, it's like, what the fuck is the point? I mean, I never expected what happened at COTA a couple years ago would scare them that bad, but maybe I was wrong. Because NASCAR has become a lot like Formula One in that sense, where they're just nothing but a bunch of fucking pussies. And it honestly makes me sick. That aside, the race, I mean, for what it was, though, it was alright. It wasn't terrible. There was a lot of crazy beating and banging back in the pack. The race for the lead was actually a lot more competitive than I thought it was going to be. A lot more pure lead changes than you normally see on a road course. But it basically boiled down to three guys, basically. A.J. Allmendinger, Sam Mayer, and of course the eventual winner, Ty Gibbs. But it's actually pretty interesting because at the beginning of the race, when they went back green after the lightning delay that they had, Allmendinger and Mayer came in to put the slicks back on after they had bolted the the wet tires on because the track was still damp, and they were actually losing time at the beginning. But as time ran on, the amount of time that they were losing began to quickly drop, and it quickly turned into an advantage for them as a dry line began to develop on the track. And they eventually wound up in the front when it was all said and done. And of course, not having cautions at the stage breaks, that's a change that I would like to see implemented at all the racetracks, not just the road courses. Because I'm actually on board with giving championship points at certain points of the race. I just don't like having unnecessary caution flags. So, and if you gotta go to a commercial break, go to a fucking commercial break. Whatever. But what I do appreciate is the fact that this race ran green. I had a long green flag run at the end of it, which was like 20 laps, which may not seem like a whole lot, but that's about a third of the race that ran under green for the rest of the race. Sam Mayer was actually able to get by A.J. Allmendinger for second at the end of the race, so that's pretty impressive. Of course, he's coming off his big win at Road America a couple weeks ago. But Ty Gibbs ends up winning it, and a lot of people are picking him as a potential favorite for the Cup race later today. So, that's something to keep an eye on. But overall, it was an alright race. I mean, it wasn't the greatest race in the world, but, it wasn't terrible either. It was just alright. I really don't have too much to complain about as far as the race itself goes. But NASCAR really needs to find their balls when it comes to this rain racing shit, because it just seems like they've become giant wet pussies when it comes to their rain policy. I don't know. That's just me. If you're gonna wait until it's absolutely bone dry to use the wet tires, then don't just fucking don't use them at all, because it's absolutely ridiculous. But my final rating for the Pennzoil 150 at the Brickyard for the Xfinity Series is a 5 out of 10.
What's happening, ladies and germs? Thank you for watching tonight's video. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description box below. Otherwise, hit like and subscribe if you want to continue watching great content like you saw today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out.